Hello, and this is video from race number 8 of the 2022 OVKA karting season at G&J Kartway. I'm racing with the LO206 senior class. Today's format in this video was qualifying and then an extended final. This would be an 18-lap final. I qualified 10th, but I think in reality I was about 12th fastest. A couple of the faster guys were DQ'd. This was a day we had some bumper rule enforcement going on this day. So as you can see in the video, we're about to swing back around for another try at the start. And I did not get disqualified, but as you can see looking through my rear camera, typically I have a plastic bumper on there. It's nice and loose. My options for this day was to borrow a metal loop bumper, and I did not have, I guess, the proper hardware, so it is fastened in and it is stiff as a board across between that, both posts or both mounting positions on the rear of my cart. So I don't really have all that flexibility and play I'm typically used to having with my plastic rear bumper. We take the green flag and we are off. My buddy Justin's in the 199. He didn't have to mess with any of his bumper action, and at the start of the day, he threw on some brand new tires for qualifying. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But everything's pretty tight right now. I'm taking it, relative. I'm trying to stay on the gas but not run into people. I think I can duck under with Justin right now, but he didn't have quite the momentum that I thought he had. So we didn't really go anywhere right there, and he fell back in line behind these guys. The 11 directly behind me, he has typically been qualifying on the pole or front row. He's one of the guys that suffered some bumper woes, I believe. No, I think he might have been underweight. But for some reason, he started towards the back, and there he is coming in. He got under me right there. I'm going to have to learn from these younger cats that on the first few laps, never take the wide line going into turn one. Always duck down under. So if I'd have stayed tight, he would not have been able to get around me. But again, he took the inside right there and got around Justin. We still have a lot of karts right in front of us. The 142 is also another one of the guys who's typically pretty fast. And he's right behind me. I knew he was back there somewhere. But we come around this corner and, I'm going about as fast as I can go without running over people. So I get a good run up, give Justin a push, but I notice the 142 coming up on my inside. I know he's going to come under me. So he comes under me. I don't really realize he's got a guy behind him. I duck back in behind him. The guy behind me, I never really saw, he wasn't really trying to duck in behind me. I think he was trying to stay next to me, and it didn't work out too well. He ended up going in the grass a little bit, but that's one of those places where, this is my 5th season out here racing on this track. I pretty much make it a point to always try to go through that single file. It almost never works out good if you try to go side by side through that turn 2 with somebody. Someone's going in the dirt or someone is blasting a turtle. So as you can see, I could have tried to force it with the 142, but I fell in line behind him and I went through nice and smooth right through there. So that was it didn't go well for I believe that was the number 8, but he gets back on track. I think he might have lost a position or two. But to get back to the tires I mentioned a little bit earlier, so Justin in the practices, he was actually a tad slower than me. I was about a half a second off the pace, about 0.5, 0.6 seconds off the pace, and at the time I think Justin was maybe even like 0.4 slower than me. But he was practicing on old tires, and I was practicing on older tires as well. My plan for the day was to put on one of my better set of used tires, which I'm running right now in this video. And Justin had brand new tires. When he threw those tires on, he leapfrogged right over the top of me and was definitely faster than me. When it turns out at the end of the day, out of a 19 kart field, he ended up with the 4th fastest lap time with his new tires. Now, unfortunately, his qualifying, he hadn't quite got used to, I don't think, the tires at the time when he went out for qualifying, and he ended up starting, I think, right next to me. So he was in 9th position. So he didn't have favorable track position at the start of the race, and so he was having to battle back. And the thing is, with this class, all of the karts in front of me are within about 3/10 of each other when it comes to, typical lap times. That guy right there kind of startled me, come around the corner. He was right in the groove. I just blipped the gas just a hair and went around him on the outside. I'm sure I picked up some marbles, but, it didn't really get me too bad coming through these corners. I'm sure I threw it off pretty quick. Also, this is, like I said, this is an 18-lap race, so I'm going to cut out a little bit of the, the no man land laps that I'm turning up here. But I did, it did seem to pay off going to one of my newer sets of tires, and I was about a half second off of most of these guys that you can see in that big group right in front of me. And after that, everybody else seemed to be about a half second or more slower than me. So again, I was in no man's land. Although this time I did narrow the gap that from the previous race with this group of drivers. When I raced with the 206 senior class the week or two before, I was like a second slower than everybody, where today I was more of about a half a second slower. And, I would have liked to seen how my kart would have handled with my regular bumper on the back. But again, it was too wide. I didn't want to get disqualified, so I used what I could find, which is that pretty rigid metal bumper back there. And I was starting to get the hops around some of these corners towards, once my tires got warmed up and we got a little further into the race. You'll see my rear-facing cam start to jump around a little bit more than it was at the beginning of the race, because the mount on it is pretty flimsy. It's a GoPro 7 black, so it's got pretty good image stabilization, so I don't worry about it too much. But anytime I went around one of these somewhat tight corners, it was really biting in, and I was, I call it getting the hops. The kart starts to go walk, 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 walk around the corner. So as you can see, there's a huge group. That's about 7 karts in front of me, and about 3 or 4 that were just a little bit faster than that group of 7 that were a little bit off the front. Can't remember what the lap times were. I think they were like, I ran like a 42.5. 3 karts got like right under 41.8, 9, and then probably about 5 or 6 of them in front of me were at 42.0, 42.1. So again, I was happy that I closed up the gap. Again, I would have liked to try it and see how well I would have done running my regular bumper, because like I said, I do think it kind of messed up my handling to what I've been used to. But as far as my motor still seemed to be running strong. No mechanical issues. Once I decided to put my sprocket guards back in, I haven't dropped the chain since. And overall, it was a nice little run. Probably on my next race, I'm going to go back and race with the Masters class. One thing, when you see the kart sitting back there in that one little spot, unfortunately, that is, it's right at the exit of that turn, so it does mess with you just a hair, because you can't really lose it going around that corner, because then you have the opportunity to run into a kart that's just sitting in the grass. So, does it affect your lap times? Who knows? It might. It's in the back of your head when you're coming around the corner that, hey, you have to be a little bit more cautious than you may be, because there's a kart sitting in the grass. And I think the this kart in front of me kind of tests that theory out. Yeah, he goes in the dirt right there, heading straight to it. I'm coming around to get the white flag. I didn't know if I was putting a lap on that kart or not, but it turned out that I was. I didn't know if they just had like a mechanical issue, because then they went straight right back there. But that will be basically about the end of the video, coming around the last lap. As you can see, nobody in front of me really. You can still see the lead group around a ways. I think all in all, I was probably about 7 seconds behind that big group of 7, and then the top 3 or 4 were about another 5 or 6 seconds up. I think I was 17 seconds behind the leader. But I ended up finishing 12th. My buddy Justin, who threw on those new tires, even though he had that really fast time. And like I said, everybody else was fast, within a tenth or two of each other, and he just wasn't able to find a spot to get around anybody, and he finished 11th. But again, a fun race, a nice long one. Got my sweat on that day, so all was good. We will see you at the next race. It might be the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, I think, is where I'm going to be racing next. And I think they've got some new track configuration, some new sections of track, so hopefully we'll get that on video. So have a good one. See you all later.